Pick me! Let me talk! It's my turn! When asked, many people can give examples of nonverbal communication, but not all of it is hand gestures and eye contact. One aspect that is rarely talked about when this subject comes up is the idea of turn-taking. Stivers, in 2009, defines turn-taking as a mechanism for coordinating a basic mode of interaction that regulates who is to speak and when. This is something that many people take for granted in casual conversation, whose turn it is to speak. It is something that happens naturally within the flow of conversation. Even though it is a natural part of life, turn-taking is interesting because it affects our lives in a subtle way. For instance, how do people decide whose turn it is to speak? Whose turn is it anyway? In classrooms, students raise their hands to indicate they want to speak, and the teacher decides who goes when. This is one example of where turn-taking is strictly regulated. But what about in more casual conversation? Take a look at this clip of Matt and Rachel interacting. How do they so easily decide who takes a turn and when?
Sure.
Solid, like, oops, or just like...
In these seconds, you can see Matt and Rachel indicating to each other whose turn it is to speak. Matt nods to Rachel when he's indicating for her to answer the question. Mondada in 2007 defines this type of gesture as a pointing gesture. But pointing gestures are not always done with a finger, as shown in this clip where Matt nods. A pointing gesture is one that indicates when a person is to speak. Throughout the video, Matt also indicates whose turn it is to speak through eyebrow movements. Do you see this? Eyebrow movements are used to convey a message or emotion, according to Guadtella, Santi, Lagrue, and Cave in 2009. These movements also show who is expected to speak. The raising of his eyebrows indicates a change in whose turn it is to speak. Guadtella, Santi, Lagrue, and Cave in 2009 have linked eyebrow movements to changes in turn-taking and can correlate them with voice changes, such as the voice rising at the end of a question. This study found that eyebrow movements occur most before and after turns are taken. As you can see in the clips, Matt often indicates it is Rachel's turn to speak after his question with his eyebrow movements. Gaze also indicates whose turn it is to speak. Gaze is defined by Novick in 1996 as where a person is looking during a conversation. Therefore, gaze includes eye contact. While speaking to Rachel, Matt's gaze is often fixed on her. However, when Lila, who is in the other room, suddenly speaks, both Matt and Rachel turn to look at the place where her voice came from. Therefore, we can see that gaze is very important in indicating whose turn it is to speak. Without gaze, a person can feel ignored and left out of a conversation, and therefore not gain the turn that they were hoping or expecting to receive. Oh, shut up already! One thing that helps us decide whose turn it is to speak is called turn relinquishing. Novick in 1996 defines turn relinquishing as when someone gives up their turn to another person. You can see an example of this in these clips.
Sure.
Solid, like, oops, or just like...
Depends what I ate or where I ate it.
Whatever! Yo, wow.
So I had my meeting with Ellen.
There are many ways to relinquish a turn. Gaze and eyebrow movement are two that we've mentioned before, but there are others. The asking of a question indicates the relinquishing of a turn, as does the inflection at the end of one. Body language and body movement also indicate when a turn is being released. However, sometimes people take a turn when one is not relinquished. This is called interruption, and we will talk about it more later. Obviously, turn relinquishing happens often in conversation. At some point, everyone must relinquish their turn. However, this usually evens out by gaining the chance to speak at another point in time. We now interrupt this video.
Why does everyone keep saying that? Like,
Mom!
what?
Obviously, taking turns doesn't go as smoothly as we learn in kindergarten. We have all interrupted someone or been interrupted at some point in our life. Belos and Krauss in 1988 define interruption as when someone breaks into another person's speech or turn, usually within the middle of a sentence. This is shown in the clip of Lila breaking into Matt and Rachel's conversation. Though this is the most prominent one, there are a couple others during the video.
Should be like a bottle one night. That was one time.
One time.
Interruption is usually seen as rude. However, sometimes it's not. When a person interrupts another, it is sometimes seen as a caring gesture. Belos and Krauss in 1988 say that it can help strengthen interpersonal relationships when someone is interrupting to agree or to support what the other is saying. Another reason that a conversation doesn't always follow a prescribed plan is overlapping talk. Shagloff in 2000 defines overlapping talk as when people talk over each other in a conversation. We can see this in multiple places in the video, including these clips.
Bring this to a professor.
She was like, was it aim party?
You had a stripper and cocaine.
No.
Okay.
She was kidding.
As these clips show, overlapping talk can occur multiple times during a conversation, but is not necessarily the same as interruption. When two or more people overlap while talking, one might stop and the other might continue, both might stop, or both will continue talking. Overlapping talk can be stopped or slowed down by watching for cues such as eyebrow movement to indicate turn taking. However, sometimes when a person is very desperate to take a turn, they will raise their volume in order to bully the person into stopping with their loudness. Wait your turn! As we learn all through childhood, taking turns is very important. Most of us apply this through our communication in our daily lives, but sometimes there are interruptions. Hopefully, this is seen as polite rather than rude. But remember, wait your turn.